بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه. By the name of Allah, the most merciful, the giver of mercy, and prayers and peace and blessings be upon our Master and upon all the messengers and prophets of Allah and upon those who follows them until the day of judgment. So we've talked a lot about a lot of things, but now let's talk about the main topic. How could we use those um, rulings or those distinctions that we talked about earlier so that we could um, have a judgment regarding the existence itself. Let's start answering the existential question about um, where do we come from? Is there a God or is just something made up? Um, so to talk about this, first of all, we need to understand the following. We need just to go back to it because we already talked about it. We just need to go back to it again so that we just establish a common ground that the mind is the highest authority in knowledge for humans, which means whatever we want to judge, we use our mind. We talked about that we have multiple sources of knowledge. The first one is rational knowledge, and that is the one that actually takes care of the direct rational judgment. Then we have other sources of knowledge, which one of them would be empirical knowledge, which is experienced and perceived through senses. Then we have emotional knowledge, is the sentimental or the subjective knowledge that we get from our feelings. And we have the transmitted knowledge, which is the reports, teaching, revelation, reading books, however. But all of those other ones, the empirical knowledge, emotional knowledge, and transmitted knowledge, all refer back and report back to rational knowledge so that they will be judged to see if they're correct or false. So that's why when, for example, we go to study any field in this universe, whether it's biology, um, um, you know, geography, um, math, medicine, anything, those fields, those sciences never ever contradicts the rational knowledge. They have to be within the boundaries of the rational knowledge. The rational knowledge is the one that judges, is that science correct or it's a bluff? Is it correct or it's false? Is it correct or it's just something we made up that is not coherent with rational knowledge? Therefore, when we use rational knowledge, we would know that 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 0 is not 1, and 1 is not 0, and so on and so forth. Very, very strict and coherent. And that's what we are going to be using because when we talk about the Creator is not from this universe, is not in this universe, nor the universe is in Him. So we cannot use empirical knowledge to de to de to detect the creator. He's not something. He's not a body. He's not something can be sensed. He's not something can be seen or perceived. He's not something in us that we can sense. God is apart from this universe, and the transmitted text is telling us about God. But how, let's say, if we do not have any text, or so far we do not trust any text or we didn't get any text. How could we know that there is actually a creator? Well, that's exactly what rational knowledge will lead us to. And how we do that? We have several steps. If we establish it, we automatically will know that, yes, there is a creator, and that creator also, on top of its existence, that creator has to have those following attributes and have to have those following characteristics, and anything other than that would be considered false. And we will see how to do that now. First of all, this is a rule. You always go from what you know to the things you do not know. That's what deduction is. You take the variables you know to discover the variables you do not know. Okay? Now, what do we know? We know the universe. We're living in this universe. We're embedded in this universe. We are part of this universe. This universe we're in right now. We are experiencing the universe. We are part of the universe. And we are sensing the universe. We can see the universe. We can feel and touch the universe. We can smell it. We can, you know, s- um, you know, taste it, so on and so forth. If it's hot, we will feel it's hot. When it's cold and raining, we will feel that. When it's windy, when we are living in it, we know it very well. Even though we think we don't know the universe very well, we actually know it very, very well. So let's start from the things we know. We know the universe. Is this universe contingent or is it eternal? How do we know if something is contingent or eternal? Well, eternal, the meaning of eternal means something that doesn't change, something that is in one state and never changes that state. Contingent, on the other hand, means the opposite. New means the opposite of eternal. Eternal means doesn't change, just exist, or just doesn't exist, but it's in that state and never changes. So it's not of the changing things. That's what eternal means, the meaning of eternal. That's why we talked about language in the beginning, just so that you know that those words we're saying, they actually have meanings inside of them. It's not just because we took a word from the language and we're building our existence upon it. No, it's just because that word actually is just a label for a meaning we know about the universe. That's what language is. Language is label to meanings already exist in the universe. We're just giving it just some labels so that we can communicate them. And that's what we're doing right now. Eternal means, the word eternal means something that doesn't change, something that lasts in its state forever without changing. While new or contingent means I think they have different meanings in context, but let's talk about the word new now. New means something new happened, means a state changed. So when, for example, um, we have an empty blank canvas, an empty paper, and it's empty, it's just white. We only have some lines there so that we can write something on it. And I would just write the letter A. Now, if I write the letter A, it's a new letter. It's a new thing that was written there. Then I will write the letter B. Now, that is a new thing that was written. What is new about it? We know the letter A and B since we were kids. Well, no, I'm not talking about the knowledge we have. I'm talking about what has been written now on paper that's new. Because the state of the letter B on paper, right now on this paper, before was non existent. And then I changed it to exist. So it's a new state from non existent to existent, which means it is a new thing. It's not eternal. It's not eternally doesn't exist, and it's not eternally there, existed forever. So that's what the meaning means. Now, contingent, on the other hand, means it needed someone to write it down. It can't just write itself down. That's what contingent means it's needing. It is possible to exist, and it also may not exist. So it's contingent means it's not a must. It's not eternal. Contingent means that thing is um, in need, depends on something. It depends on a creator. It depends on a writer. It's new. It's not something that existed and was existing. It's something that didn't exist and then it existed in a time, in certain points. The state changed. While that state didn't exist, then that state came into existence. So that is very important to observe in the universe, and we know it. As I said, this universe and how it acts, it's embedded in our nervous system. We know it. We do not need to go and learn it. We are living in this universe. So, when we look at the universe, that's what we have. That's the known thing we have. So let's go from the known thing and let's um, go towards what we're searching for. So, if we look at the universe, is the universe eternal? Nope. The universe changing. If we talk about, for example, the Big Bang or whatever, the quantum fluctuations or whatever, things are changing every time, all the time, everywhere. Things were hot, now it is cooling down. Entropy is changing. Um, Size is changing, was very, very infinitely small, now it's expanding. It's keep moving. Hotter is getting colder, colder is getting hotter. Time is changing. Things are changing. This universe is not eternal. And some people will argue, they will say, well, maybe the parts of the universe are not eternal. They're changing, they're new. But the universe itself is eternal. That's impossible because the whole is what's made it, the whole is what it is made of. When everything in you is red, then you are red. When everything in you is hot, then you are hot. Okay? When everything in you is contingent, you are contingent. When everything in you is changing, you are changing. And even if part of you was changing, and that part of you is part of you, and you are part of it, it makes you whole, then because it's part of you, you are changing too, because it's part of you. So the universe is not eternal. We know that. Like, objectively, if we observe the universe um, is not eternal. We know that. So now this is the first piece of information. We know it because we live in this universe. We have read the scientific papers. We have read, documentaries and so on and so forth. And also, in rational judgment, in the mind's rational judgment, we can see that things are changing. And changing things are not a must. A changing thing is always a possibility because if it was a must, it wouldn't change because what did we talk about? Must, possibility, and impossibility. We said that must is something that has um, um, it does not accept non-existence. It must exist. That's what a must is. Now, me talking right now, I'm gonna say, for example, the letter F. Okay, one, two, three, F. Okay. Did that F existed before I said it? No. Then, is it necessary? Is it a must? No, because a must means it does not accept non-existence and it didn't exist before I said it. Or is it impossibility? Well, because impossibility means does not accept existence and I already said it. So what is it then? It is possible. It's permissible. It accepts both existence and non-existence. So changing things are not necessary and not impossible because necessary will never change. It always will exist. Necessary will not ever accept non-existence. Exactly how cause and effect. For every effect, there has to be a cause causing it. That's necessary. You will never ever find an effect without a cause. So cause will do not accept non-existence. Okay, that's just an example. And the same thing for impossibility. For something to be impossible, it will never exist. Like the opposite of cause and effect. It is impossible for an effect to be without a cause. That's an impossibility. It will never exist. That case will never exist. Those are instincts in our mind that does not accept themselves do not exist. They're there. They judge everything. So now we know that possible things or permissible things that accepts both existence and non-existence are things who are not eternal. So anything that is not eternal accepts both changing, accept both existing and non-existent. It's not fixed in one state. So necessary accepts only existence and has no face, has um no how can I say that? No end in non-existence. It has only one end into existence. Impossibility has one end in non-existence, has one face in non-existence, has no other ends in existence. While possibility or permissibility accept both existence and non-existence, has two faces. facing existence and facing non-existence, has two ends, in existence and in non-existence. Okay? So this is very important. Those are the things regarding the mind, which we actually use every single second and every single microsecond in our life to do everything and anything. Anything we do in our life, we're using this unknowingly, but we just like not used to um, put it in this way. Um, Sorry about this. Just writing something down. So we're just not used to thinking about it this way because we're doing it automatically. Our brain does it every second so that we live. For example, if your phone rings, you immediately turns to your phone where it's emitting sound because your mind knows there is no effect without a cause, and the cause has to be in that direction which where you actually pick up the sound from. So you go there. If something is falling, like for example, you have a cup and it's falling in an arc, it's just falling. It was pushed, let's say, by the cat. The cat just nudged it out of the counter. So you see the arc is falling. You're anticipating that. Your mind is anticipating where it's going to be because it knows the effect, the cause, and it can anticipate the effect. Okay? We know that when we are hungry, our energy goes down, then we could, you know, pass out, we could be very tired, and so on and so forth. We know this. We know the cause and effect. We are already using our rational judgment every day. It's embedded in us. That's how we are. That's who we are. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just, bringing this, that the thing we're using every day in our life, and I'm just trying to set for us some kind of rules instead of it being just floating. We don't know how to discuss it. So now I am just setting it so that we can discuss it. We can talk about it. Because this is exactly what's going to be helping us knowing who we are, where we are, and so on and so forth. So far, because continuing forward, we are going to dive deep. Do we have any questions? Anything? You need to know what we're talking about. You need to be, you know, you need to have a very good understanding in this. So questions are the most loved things in those subjects. You have to ask questions if something is not clear. Okay, cool. It maybe sound very, very simple. We're living among this. We're living because of this. We're building our buildings because of this. We're doing great surgeries because of this. We're solving problems in our life because of this. We're understanding our existence because of this. This is how simple and strong it is, how powerful it is, how magnificent it is. So, as we said, let's go back to the universe. If the universe is eternal, that's it. We eternally exist and everything is okay, and that's it. We do not need a creator. It's not necessary. It's not a necessity. So the mind doesn't necessitate it. But we go to the universe and see, no, the universe is new. The universe is contingent. Okay. So the universe is contingent, the universe is new, the universe is changing. What does that mean? It means it's possible, it's permissible. This universe is permissible, it's possible. It is not necessary and it's not impossible because we can see it exists. And we can see it's not necessary because we can see it's changing. It changes, it has events, it has needs. Everything need it is possible because necessary doesn't need anything, it just exists. So the universe is possible. It's not impossible because it exists, and it's not necessary because it it changes. Necessary doesn't change. So if the universe is possible, if the universe is new, if the universe changing needs, then how did it exist? Because new, the word new, means something didn't exist and then it came to existence. Because that's what new means. So if I say the letter F again, one, two, three, F, the F didn't exist. So actually, the word new means we have two states: the old state, which is non existence, and the new state, which is existence. So when something doesn't exist and then it existed or exists right now, who brought it up from the old state, which is non existence, has no characteristics, has nothing, to the new state of being something? Who brought it? Who made it? For the letter F, I did, and you can hear me saying it. What about the letter F versus the universe? Can the letter F actually say itself? Can the letter F actually pronounce itself and just say F by itself? Nope. Okay. What about the universe? Can the universe make itself up? Can the universe create itself? Well, as we know, we're talking here rationally, so I'm not just going to say yes or no because that's not rational. When we are rationally talking, we need evidence. Evidence is everything. What is the evidence of this? That does the universe or can the universe make itself up, create itself, or it can't? Well, if we look at something that doesn't exist, what is existence? Existence means you have some characteristics, any characteristics, okay? When we describe something, again, back to language, that it doesn't exist, what does that mean? It means it has no characteristics at all. It's non existent. It is nothing. Okay? So the universe was nothing because, as we said, it's new. New means it has two states: a former state, which is non existence, and new state means its existence. Now, when we're talking about something that doesn't exist, means it has nothing, no characteristics, no existence at all. Then the universe now exists. Then something has to have made it exist. If we say the universe made itself up, what does that mean? Non existence means nothing at all. And then existence means something exists, something is here. Now, if I say the universe made itself, created itself, this means something exists that made another thing exist. But we already said that the universe, before it existed, it didn't exist. And the mind, the rational judgment doesn't accept that because now we're doing a contradiction because we're saying that the non-existent made something and non-existent is nothing. It doesn't make anything. We're saying that the universe didn't exist, but it existed to make itself exist while it didn't exist. And that's just pure contradiction. Because we're saying that the non existent is existent. We're saying that the zero is one and one is zero. They're the same thing. This just breaks everything, breaks rationality, breaks coherence, just breaks the mind. That's it. Breaks reality. This is not correct. So the mind immediately rejects it. The mind immediately says, what you're talking about here is impossible. It is impossible for non existence to make something because to be able to make something, you have to exist to do something, to form something, to perform an act. But you are non existent, so you cannot do anything. And therefore, the universe made itself while it was nothing, just popped to existence by itself, is rationally not acceptable. Some people will come and say, okay, but there's this kind of theory. Is your theory actually depends on the mind? Is your theory rational? If yes, then the mind rejects it. But if your theory is made up and it doesn't care about rationality and coherence, then say whatever you want. It is a fictional story. It is exactly how animators does in their studio. They use Maya or Blender or whatever. They use the 3D software to create something that just gets generated. And there is a cause for that, which is the computer. Computer is generating that. So there have to be a cause for an effect to happen. But now you're saying there is no cause, the effect is happening, the non-existence is existence, and this is pure contradiction, and the mind just will laugh at you. Just red sirens will be just hitting all over the place until that person gets deaf and blind, and they cannot see or hear the red alarming sirens, then there, that's it. They have corrupted themselves. But a pure person will immediately see through that and say, this is impossible. You're just laughing at me. You're just mocking me. So that's the first thing. That's the first theory that the universe made itself by itself was debunked. This is impossible because first of all, we debunked that the universe is eternal because we know it in ourselves. It's not eternal. It is changing. It's new. Events are there. The universe needs. The universe is new, changing, and contingent. So we debunk that the universe is eternal and exists forever. Then we went to the second theory that the universe made itself up because it wasn't eternal, didn't exist just because it's necessary. It's not necessary. It is possible. And it's now exists. So the universe made itself up. We know now that's impossible because it's self-contradicting. What is the third option that we have left up with? The third option and the final option is that there some force, some creator, some existence made it. So rationally, the mind rejects all the other possibilities we just talked about, except for this possibility that was a possibility before we debunked those other ones. And now this possibility just turned itself to a necessity. The universe is not eternal. The universe cannot make itself up by itself. Then we have no other option but that there is a necessary being that is not new, because if he's new, he needs somebody to make him, that is not contingent or in need, because then he would need somebody to, you know, fill in the gap that he needs there. that is not changing, because changing again means new, means he changed from a state to change to a new state that didn't exist before. So now the mind necessitate that this universe has to have a creator, a maker, someone who actually formed it, and that creator or maker has to be necessary, has to be not new, because if he was new, he would be the same exactly as the universe. It would be possible. He would not be necessary. And then we need to go and search for another necessary who made that. It's exactly like how we are. Our mom and our dad are necessary, are new. Yes, they made us exist, but they're not the cause of themselves. They're not, eternal. They also existed, so they're contingent, they're new, they're changing. So they need somebody to make them. That's why we have grandfathers and grandmothers and so on and so forth. And that chain will continue forever. And the contingency chain, if it continues forever, it's a rational impossibility. We will talk about that the next lesson, why it is that. But now we establish that the universe is not eternal. We know that. The universe did not make itself by itself. We know that because non existence is just nothing. It cannot do anything. What does is existence. So now we know, and our mind judges that the universe exists and is contingent and it's new and it's changing and it's in need. That why there has to be something or someone or some whatever that actually made it come to existence. And if that thing who made this universe come to existence is also contingent, new, changing, in need, then they would need somebody else, and so on and so forth. And that will continue forever. As I said, we'll talk about it next time, inshallah. So the mind necessitate that that creator, that maker, has to be not new, it would be eternal, not contingent, not in need, they would be self-sufficient. So, rationally, as we know that 1 plus 1 equals 2, and as we know that 0 is not 1 and 1 is not 0, we know that the universe needs a creator, and that creator has to be necessary, not new, eternal, not contingent or in need, but self-sustaining and different from um, um, those creatures, the universe, different from the universe, not part of the universe. This is just rational judgment. This is without a religion. I'm not talking about religion at all. I didn't even mention the name Allah. I didn't mention even God. I'm just saying what rationally our mind necessitates and judges upon our existence. Very simple, yet existential. Next lesson, inshallah, we will be talking about um, the infinite regression and why contingent or new cannot rely on contingent or other new forever. Because we could say, or somebody could say, then, okay, we could just say that my mom gave birth to me, her mom gave birth to her, her mom gave birth to her, and so on and so forth infinitely. Is that accepted rationally? We will know. And just a hint, no, the mind rejects it. It's impossible rationally, but we'll explain why in the next lesson, inshallah. So far, do you have any questions? Okay, see you, inshallah, in the next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.